All right, when the American people decided the host of Celebrity Apprentice should become commander-in-chief and leader of the free world, it came as no surprise that it would usher in a made-for-TV presidency. Now, let's give him a little bit of credit. His showbiz background and mastery of the television medium are one big reason he actually wins elections. But his decision to choose cabinet members as if it was a casting call for a TV show, well, that has not gone as well. Pete Hegseth may have looked like a defense secretary before he was nominated for the job, but how he's looking now, embroiled in scandal after scandal, oversharing attack plans, raises some serious questions. In some cases, Trump's picks are more concerned with playing dress-up. Take, for example, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who isn't above traveling to a prison in El Salvador, all for a photo op that isn't actually keeping anyone safe. Meanwhile, Dr. Oz, remember him? Well, may have had a successful TV show. But what good is that going to do us if and when this administration actually starts cutting Medicare and Medicaid? And we still have no clue how or why Sean Duffy, whose claim to fame was appearing on MTV's The Real World before becoming a congressman, is now running the Department of Transportation. Look, just because someone looks the part doesn't mean they can actually do the job. And now, unfortunately, we are learning that the hard way. Joining me this hour, Catherine Rampell, my new co-host on the upcoming show, The Weekend Primetime. Jenny Hagel, a comedian and writer at Late Night with Seth Meyers. You can go see her new show. Jenny Hagel gives advice at Union Hall in Brooklyn on April 30th. And comedian W. Kamo Bell, you can go see him live for his Who's With Me tour as well. It's great to have all three of you with us. Really excited about this. Catherine, give me your thoughts on the part versus the reality of these people. I mean, when we see somebody like Pete Hegseth, who is out there with the American flags, he's got the USA belt buckle, his suits and socks match.
He can do the push-ups.
He can do the push-up. Yeah, exactly. He can do the push-ups.
He can throw an axe and maybe hit someone, as he did when he was live on Fox News one time. Yeah.
He looks the part. But it seems that, as I was saying, this scandal after scandal really shows that he's not up for the part.
This was the case in Trump's first administration, too, that he largely chose people based on whether they looked straight out of central casting. Like, I remember when Janet Yellen, who was then the Fed chair, appointed under Barack Obama, was nixed for a reappointment because she was seen as too short.
Right.
As a petite person myself and someone who admires Janet Yellen and her skill and intellect, this was pretty offensive to me. But in any event, it didn't work entirely his first time, in part because he was choosing people just based on how they looked and whether they dressed the part and all of that, and not screening them on loyalty. Now he's figured out it has to be a dual test, right? It has to be somebody who looks the part and swears loyalty to the dear leader. And that combination of traits is not going to make a successful cabinet, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the first time around, there were adults in the room, right? I remember people were kind of looking at folks like Jim Mattis, John Kelly, the chief of staff, Jim Mattis obviously being a defense secretary. You also had people like Rex Tillerson, a highly accomplished former Exxon executive running the State Department. And people felt like, okay, you had this time around, you've got Kristi Noem cosplaying. I don't know what she's cosplaying as, but she's down there outside of this security prison and all glammed up. And you're wondering, is this for the world or is this for an audience of one? Is this what Donald Trump wants to see and why they are doing this? Or is this something that they think projecting to the world actually matters?
Oh, I think it's all performative, right? I think that's kind of what the administration is. That's Donald Trump's vibe. All of those photo ops are like the same way that I go to Coney Island, right? Like you go to Coney Island. And
you know it's going to be a mess, but you just want to get that picture on the boardwalk with the hot dog.
But that's it, right? You go to Coney Island and there's a cutout of a strong man and a hole, and you put your face in the hole, and you're like, look at me, I'm a strong man. And it's like, that's what all these photo ops are like, look at me, I'm Secretary of Defense. But that's not the same as being Secretary of Defense.
You know, Kama, when the Democrats win, they always ask this question, what can we learn from Donald Trump, right? Like there's a performative aspect to the way Donald Trump conducts his politics and the way he chooses people, and also the way that no matter what the scandal is, no matter what the criticism is, deny it, reject it, deflect it. And you got to wonder, is there something here for Democrats? How did they penetrate this facade that he has created with these people? I mean, he still stands by Pete Hegseth despite these scandals. And these scandals are the same scandals that they accused previous Democratic politicians of, right? The classified, the emails. And yet when it comes to sharing classified or highly sensitive information or attack plans, they just completely ignore the substance and just attack the media.
Yeah, I mean, I think what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's what the Democrats tend to do. And I think if you look at Trump, what they need to do is actually find new leadership in the party, younger leadership. Sorry about my voice. I've been doing a lot of stand-up.
No worries.
Yeah, but I think that the Democrats have to find younger leadership who can confront Trump and confront the MAGA Republicans and bring new voices to the party, like Summer Lee, AOC, Latifah Simon, where I am. It's time to turn their party over to the younger voices. I just named a bunch of women, the women voices of the party, because if you keep doing the same thing with the current leadership, you're going to get the same results. Yeah,
and to that point, I mean, you got today, I don't know if you saw this, Senator Cory Booker, Hakeem Jeffries, they're calling it a sit-in on the Capitol steps. Gavin Newsom's doing podcasts where he's trying to kind of speak to Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk. Have they learned the right lesson from the moment that we find ourselves in? Is that the right strategy, or is it a different approach that the folks that are going out there, as Kamu was just saying, going out there into the crowds, meeting the people, meeting the residents, constituents where they are?
I think it's getting closer. I think that Democrats just have to find a way to authenticity. I think American people are too smart for sound bites.
Why do you think they lack that?
I don't know. Maybe when you feel like you're on your back foot is when you get sweaty and nervous and you start saying weird things, like when you get caught coming home after curfew and you're like, there was a traffic jam of bees. Like that's when I think when you're in a defensive position is when you're the least authentic and you're not when you're the least effective, and maybe that's how Democrats feel like.
I want to play devil's advocate for a moment, because Pete Hegseth was something that you and I have in common, a weekend cable news host.
You both dated him?
No.
Oh, you said we both had it in common. I just assumed.
No. We have something in common, that we both are hosts of weekend cable news shows. Therefore, if you want to let me finish this.
Also, you both dated him in college. But
we should be at least fifth in line to the presidency.
So I was going to say, where does this bode for us? Where is our career going to end up? I mean, I wouldn't say no to a Secretary of State position. I don't know about you if you know.
Look, I think
What's wrong with being a weekend cable news host?
Nothing, but it does not qualify you to run a department of 3 million people in the case of Hegseth's job, right?
Fair enough.
No knock on people in our profession. I am among the people in our profession, obviously, but that does not qualify me to have any of these jobs, whatever my height, however many push-ups I can do, right? Being decent on TV and charismatic on TV is not the same thing as having subject matter expertise and management experience and all of the other things you need in order to have one of these incredibly important and powerful jobs.
I don't know. I went to the Air and Space Museum. I feel like I could run NASA.
Yeah, you think so?
I think so.
Okay, well, maybe with this administration, you might get that call. So just keep that phone.
Well, the Air and Space Museum is probably having its exhibits like summarily stripped as we speak. So there's even less information you have to remember.
Kamu, I'm curious to get your thoughts on the chaos and the optics of this, and whether or not that is something the administration relishes. I get asked this question a lot as someone who's trying to cover this administration. How do you separate the noise from the substance of what is happening and the damage that is happening or being inflicted? And how do you stay focused on that when this is an administration that loves the chaos and the media spectacle of every decision that it is making?
First, I want to go back and say I could certainly run the African American Museum better than they're running the African American Museum. 100%.
I can't wait to come out and I take over the Smithsonian.
Listen, guys, anything is possible in the next 4 years. Anyway, just keep your phones handy. We may by the end of this segment, we may all be called up to something different.
Also, I just want to weigh in on the Cory Booker, Hakeem Jeffries thing, because to me, that picture looks like the cover of a 90s rap album where it's all positive raps. You know, the rap that was like, we don't swear. It looks like something, it does not scream. You have to be authentic to scream authenticity, and that picture does not feel authentic. That's all I want to say. But I do think the Trump people are purposefully making chaos because it distracts us from the fact that they're deporting American citizens without due process, or they're human trafficking undocumented people without due process. So you can do all these things like no more paper straws in the Gulf of America, and it distracts, which is fun to talk about, but it distracts us from the fact that they are actually currently human trafficking citizens out of the country without due process.